Hey fam, it's Lex. I want to talk a little bit about transformation. I'm like really struggling with something, and I've undergone a lot of transformation in the last year and a year and a half or so, and probably in one of the most obvious ways, if not one of the most extreme ways that a person within their physical body can go through a transformation. But along with it came a lot of the emotional, spiritual, mental um, transformation stuff that I didn't expect. And I, I do not want to talk about this. But I think it's important to be real. And, a big part of transformation is grief. And I'm really struggling with that right now. As we go along in our lives and we figure out who we are, we develop expectations for ourselves, and we allow ourselves to play a part in other people's expectations. And as we start to develop our personality or what we are or who we are or what we do, we become attached to that. When I first started doing things publicly, I was performing as a poet. That was a big part of my identity, being a poet. And when the poetry stopped, maybe not stopped, but transformed, and I could no longer felt like that person, it was disturbing. It was extremely disturbing. This is what I was. This is what people knew of me. This is what people asked me for when they talked to me, or when they would come to me and say that they had seen me somewhere. What they'd seen was me as a poet, and I didn't feel like I was that anymore. And it was both irritating and heartbreaking because I felt like I was never going to be able to be that again. And it might not be poetry for you, but you know what I'm talking about. When you've been something for so long, and then that deep urge to become more, to evolve, to change, to grow, it pushes you past everything you've been, and it is incredibly uncomfortable. And so many times we are desperate to get back to what we've been, even if we weren't happy being there, because at least we knew what we were when we were there. That's the grief I'm talking about. We know that great transformation comes from pain. I don't think that's news to anybody, and people understand that pain, a lot of times, the worst things that ever happen to your life give birth to some of the most beautiful things, and we understand that. But that grief of what you have been, of letting go of that, letting go of those ideas, not letting go like just forget it ever happened, but letting go like integrating it into your experience and understanding that you are that, and then you're so much more now as you continue to grow and to develop. God, that is hard. And I'm really struggling with that now as I continue to develop and deepen my understanding of what I am, and I look at this new precipice of where I'm at in my life and where I'm going, and I think about what I've been to other people, and really asking hard questions about who and what I am now, and the grief. The grief. What am I if I'm not what I have been? You know? I know it sounds funny, I know it's silly, but it's scary, man. When you really get into that, being honest with yourself. And I don't have an answer. But what I do know is you can't run. You can't run from that grief. You have to own it. You have to make peace with it. You have to integrate it, and you have to lean into it. Because somewhere in there, you're going to reach a point where you give yourself permission to do what's next and make peace with what has been. somewhere on the other side of this yucky feeling is a whole lot of freedom. You can't go back. Once you grow and you can't get smaller. You just have to keep going. And you have to understand that a tree can't bear fruit all the time. Everything needs rest. Everything needs to experience that death and rebirth process, because that's what allows us to keep growing bigger and keep developing sweeter fruit. Anyway, that's all I got.